Yo there guys, this is Cobb and this is the first Sunday's video of the year. I hope you've all been having a good one so far. There aren't a massive amount of updates to mention, so most of this episode is going to be in the Q&A format, taking questions I've gotten from you guys over the weeks. So far there have been 2 collabs, one with Thyraz the Druid and one with Zwin the Monk, and I think there are more to come soon, so I really hope you're enjoying watching those. The Thyraz dueling video was shockingly fun to edit actually, and I feel like I've learned a few tricks with Vegas that I didn't know before while editing that one. And I feel like we're building speed. The music I'm able to use in the videos now feels awesome. I feel it's really giving the videos a cleaner, sharper finish. And this is all in the wake of hitting 50,000 subscribers. I'm not even going to spend too much time talking about how amazing it feels to have so many people joining us here on the channel, but that's only because there are no words I haven't said before or that would do justice to how grateful I am for every ounce of support you guys give. 50,000, it's rapidly approaching now and it's just incredible. As for a 50k video, I think I've mentioned this before, but I'm working on Devastation 3. I have some meaty quick clips stocked up. I want more before I get my teeth into the editing, and I'm still going to try and have it out on the same day we reach the big milestone. And honestly, that is all for updates. There have been some really good questions put forward for this episode, starting with Victor of Listen, who asks, if you were to explain what you find the best about playing games like World of Warcraft, what would that be? Games like World of Warcraft and Skyrim, for example, tend to really grab me for one main reason, and that is that you can do whatever you want playing as whatever you want. And of course Skyrim has got a lot more freedom than World of Warcraft. You can literally design exactly how your character looks, how they fight, which styles of armor they prefer, and I love that about Skyrim. When I play a game, I like to be able to make it my own and play how I want to play, and if I can't do that, I just won't play the game. World of Warcraft isn't as polished in this way as Skyrim. The questing in WoW, for example, is extremely linear, exploration isn't nearly as rewarding, and the classes are just generally more restrictive, but beyond all of that, you can still create your own character, customize it to an extent, and once endgame arrives, you can do whatever you like. Whether you want to gank all day, muck around in arenas, or even just become a gold farming in-game millionaire, it is all there for you to do. One last thing to mention is that WoW has affected how I look at other games too. Now I find it really hard to play a game if I can't create my own character at the beginning. Unless the game is very good, I'll usually end up not committing to it. Melee, something that I have no hope in this universe of ever being able to pronounce correctly, asks, have you ever been interested in taking a trip across the world? If so, where would you go? One place I would definitely like to go is Sweden, of course, because I'd be able to visit Pingu and Caven, and also because, and I don't know if I'm just making this up, but you Swedish people out there seem to be a lot more into PC gaming than most other places. I might be wrong about that, but hey. I also want to try out the legendary chocolate that is Plop and Pingu's favourite meal, fish balls. But Sweden isn't really across the world. I've sort of dodged the question a little bit. If I had to pick somewhere, I'd play it safe, and I'd visit New Zealand just to see what's there apart from epic Middle-earth scenery. Hassan Ravan asks, do you change your talents and glyphs in Arena? And if you do, why? The only times I'll change my talents in an arena is if I'm playing with a rogue or a mage or any other class that has a lot of stuns. I'll spec out of Shadow Fury so I don't DR their stuns, and I'll go for Mortal Coil instead. And other times, even though I usually prefer Unbound Will as a second PvP trinket, if I'm facing a double melee team that I'm very sure will truck me from the moment the gates open, I'll swap into Blood Horror to try and counter that a little bit, but most of the time I'm going to stick with Unbound Will anyway, as I just really like the talent. Munir Sadi asks, are you going to play the Elder Scrolls Online in the future? Yes, I'm very excited about playing the Elder Scrolls Online. I think it has huge potential. Reviews I've heard from some lucky beta testers have been mixed. Some of them think that it's amazing, others aren't so sure. It's something I'm going to spend at least a couple of weeks having fun with when it launches, before deciding if I'm really going to put in a ton of time and dedication like I have with WoW. So yes, I'll be playing the game. Will I be making videos on it and aiming to one day become the Emperor of Tamriel? We're going to have to see about that when April comes about. Nick Oz asks a lot of questions, so I'm sorry man, I trimmed off the first few, leaving the one I most want to answer, and that is, if WoW dropped PvP, would you quit the game? And by dropped, I'd imagine you mean stopped creating new PvP sets altogether and stopped releasing new arena seasons. So there would still be battlegrounds to play. Blizzard would never outright remove content like that, I don't think. And you'd still be able to world PvP, but to get gear, you would have to PvE, and there'd be no arena oriented competitive play in PvP. If WoW ever came to a point like this, I would quit immediately. I'm not such a huge arena player, but if Blizzard were to so clearly shift away from PvP, even as a so-called side option, that would tell me that any hope of class balancing PvP from that moment on would be gone. For a lot of people, hope is already gone of that, of course. WoW clearly focuses a lot more on PvE anyways, but they do at least make some small changes which help to balance things out in PvP. Also, if I had to do PvE to get my gear, I just wouldn't play. Just imagining how many people would have insane, ridiculous one-shot trinkets from the latest raids gives me flashbacks to Cataclysm RPGs filled with Cunning of the Cruel trinkets. You couldn't even see the ground underneath your character for the carpet of Shadowbolt procs. Aaron Sithath says, I see you've been playing WoW for quite a while now. Have you ever felt like quitting the game ever? If so, because of what? And also, what kind of changes would you like to see in PvP when Warlords of Draenor comes out? I actually just mentioned it. At least one of the times I can pinpoint that I considered leaving the game behind was Cataclysm, when PvE gear literally dominated at every level of competitive play in PvP. They didn't completely drop PvP, but they definitely shoved it in their back pocket, forgot it was there, sat on it, and farted. I might even say that if there had been a game around at the time that I enjoy as much as, for example, Dota 2, I probably would have just jumped ship. Mists of Pandaria hasn't been as bad though. There've actually been a lot of class and spec combinations in MOP that usually aren't seen at all in PvP. I think that this is awesome, and I hope that this continues into Warlords of Draenor. And to quickly sum up what I'd like to see PvP wise next expansion: less melee gap closes, less instant CC, and lower health pools in relation to damage. It now takes pretty much 3, sometimes 4 Dark Soul Chaos Bolts to kill someone, and thinking back to the old days in vanilla, where one Pyroblast could one-shot someone if it crit. Obviously I wouldn't want things to become that extreme again, but I think you know what I mean. There needs to be less health in relation to damage. Michael De Silva asks what I thought about WoW on my first few hours of gameplay. It was an amazing experience. WoW was the first MMO I'd ever played. I started way back at the very beginning of TBC, and I was a total noob. In fact, for the first 10 minutes while I was creating my character, I was kind of skeptical about the whole thing, but then by the time the intro cinematic had played, and I was running around in Death Knell with my imp next to me, I'd already decided that I wanted to be the most badass, crazy warlock the world had ever seen. But yeah, it felt immense that an entire new world had just been put in front of me for me to experience any way I wanted, and I also really liked the Horde vs Alliance thing, because back in the old days, there used to be a lot of faction pride, and that was something that I loved. I liked to immerse myself, even very early on in the faction war, and this was even way before I got ganked for the first time in Hillsbrad Foothills. Puddle Gaming says, a small thing in the video, a day in the life of Cobrak, you said, it might be the clip of Destiny for Cob 17. Was it the clip of Destiny? And you're of course talking about the moment in the Day of the Life vlog, where I mentioned while playing in the vlog that I might have just recorded an amazing clip for cobrak-17. But that clip actually didn't end up in the final cut of Cob 17. I did use it though. I showed it in a video I made after Cob 17 called cobrak-17 Extras. It was one of those clips that was really good, but it didn't quite fit into the video when it came time for editing. And finally, Little Boomy asks, what was your best and favourite subject when you finished your A-levels? Well, I really liked psychology, but the way in which you have to learn all of the crap for the exams, which is basically a glorified memory test, put me off big time. So I'd have to say English literature. I did also study English language, which I enjoyed for the coursework pretty much. I was allowed to basically write my own story, but after that was finished, it lost a lot of its appeal. Literature, however, stayed epic. All you do in literature classes is read, and that's it. If you like reading novels, it's just the best lesson in the world. And alright, that's it for the questions, guys. Now quickly onto some recent donators who've actually surprised me over the past weeks. William Nielsen donates €5, leaving a note behind saying, hey man, I just want to give you this €5 just to say keep up the good work. And I definitely will do, man. Thank you. Caden Pobans donates €5 as well, saying, hey Cob, this is Diarmeister from US Kill Jaden. Keep up the Warlock representation. Your videos are inspiring me to get together my own YouTube channel soon. Awesome, and thank you. It's always good to hear that I've motivated some of you guys to go after something. And finally, Christian leaves behind €50, leaving no note at all behind for me to read out. So Christian, you are this episode's silent hero. Thank you, and William and Caden for the donations. They've helped me out a lot, and I can't thank any of you guys enough. And alright, that's about it for this Sunday's episode. If you were still watching at this point, you're awesome. I'm going to get back to recording some of them devastation big damage clips, so stay awesome. Thank you so much for watching as always, and I'm going to catch you all a bit later.